Hey everyone, how's it going? totallevel here, and currently I am playing through Xenoblade Chronicles X Definitive Edition on the Switch, and I am loving it. However, it did not start that way. With the amount of tutorials at the start of the game when you first enter New LA, along with excessive amounts of grinding before you could do the next chapter start, Xenoblade Chronicles X had a rough start for me. Once I got the skill though, it has become a much more fun experience, and so that got me thinking, what other amazing JRPGs out there have really slow or awful starts? Well, a bunch of them would. Many hold your hand a lot at the beginning, you're learning about the game's world and combat mechanics, along with the characters in the game, and creating that world building aspect that makes JRPG stories fascinating. And so, I want to look at 10 different JRPGs from all sorts of series that are amazing, but have a slow start to them in no particular order. Let me know in the comments down below which JRPGs you love that also have rough starts. Let's begin, and I hope you all enjoy. First up, I have Persona 5 or Persona 5 Royal, which could pick any Persona games. They all kind of start off pretty slow, but Persona 5 I feel it's the slowest since it takes around 5 to 7 hours before you really get the story moving, and once it gets moving, wow, is it amazing. And it's funny when I first played this because at first I didn't enjoy it since, you know, you're a transfer student who moves with a family friend in Shibuya, and you have a criminal record, though it's not your fault. You were trying to help a woman, but because of this man you were trying to protect her from has a lot of power, you got this criminal record and everyone treats you like one, like a criminal. And remember just kind of not liking the beginning of this game, and just, man, especially coming off of Persona 4 where despite its dark storyline, there was so much humor in it, and you got a lot of heart because you're living with your uncle and cousin, right? And so you got that family connection, and this one, it just felt like you were on your own for so many parts of it, except for the friends you meet early on, or at least Ryuji. And yeah, I didn't really like it at first, but as it went on and the story was building, learning more about the mental shutdowns, and then you get a part where you really see how evil adults are in this game, and then you're just like, yeah, now I'm in for the ride, I'm in for everything, I want to be a phantom thief, I want to change these corrupt adults' hearts, these scum of the earth adults. And so yeah, it just really picks up, but that beginning part was not just very slow, but also just made me kind of angry at the beginning, and then as I went on, yeah, I got angry, but for more reasons of like, okay, now I really want to play this for getting back at these adults. So Persona 5, one of the best games ever. It's always funny to me to look at it as something I didn't quite get into at first, but once you get around that 5 to 7 hour mark, because the game starts off where you're kind of in the future, you're seeing something that happens later on, and then you relive the past to lead up to those moments, right, a few months back. And so just really cool, but that beginning is pretty rough to get through. Next, I have Final Fantasy X. There were a few Final Fantasies I could have picked, but I picked this one. It's my favorite Final Fantasy ever. It's an amazing game, but it does start off slow. You have the beginning parts of Zanarkand, kind of getting to know about little bits of what's going on, of this creature named Sin attacking Zanarkand. You're getting thrown into the world of Spira all of a sudden. You help Riku and the Albed for a tiny bit before getting thrown again by Sin into Besaid Island, meeting Waka and later on Lulu, Kamari, Yuna. And these beginning parts of Final Fantasy X are quite the slog, especially compared to the rest of the game that really ramps up. And I would say the game starts to get really interesting once you set foot off Besaid Island, going to Kilika, gain kind of your first main boss battle. But I would also say the game, for some people, might not really start until you do the Operation Mihen part in the game. Because, yeah, once you get past that part, then it's like, okay, everything is on for Final Fantasy X, but beginning parts, you're just kind of learning about the world of Spira, about Sin, about the religion of Yevon, and kind of doing the tutorial stuff, getting to know how combat works and how every character has a different advantage and disadvantage depending on the enemies, right? So it's interesting in that aspect, but when you replay this game as many times as I have, getting through the first couple hours is a bit of a drag. Now we have Star Ocean The Last Hope, or Star Ocean 4, whatever you want to call it, and there's 2 Star Oceans I could have picked, this one or the third game till the end of time, but went with Star Ocean 4 because, man, the beginning is so draggy. If you skip all the cutscenes, yeah, it's not bad, but if you're playing for the first time, you want to see the cutscenes, things like that, man, it takes forever to get going, and voice acting in this game is pretty subpar compared to so many other games out there, and beginning cutscenes aren't super exciting. It's a lot of just, Edge, what are you doing? And calling each other out and just getting to know more about your crew a little bit and what's going on. Once you crash land and get on your first planet, get to explore and get to fight some enemies, yes, it does get much better, much more exciting, because the combat in this game is still probably my favorite in the whole Star Ocean series, and I really love this game. I know some people are going to give me flack for saying this is an amazing game and putting it on this list, but I do really enjoy Star Ocean 4. It's a lot of fun, there's a lot of cool aspects, but it takes a while, and it takes until you get off the first planet, I believe, before you can even use a lot of the Star Ocean tropes they put in of crafting, inventing new items, doing a whole lot of quests, right? So it does take a while, but it is a lot of fun. Just that first few cutscenes you have to just sit through is very, very boring. And then we have Tales of Grace's F. Again, quite a few Tales games I could have put here, but I went with Grace's as this is one of my favorites, but that prologue is way too long. Now, it's a very important prologue. It sets up the story that takes place years later, but man, oh man, is it boring. It's very cheesy too. There's that whole friendship thing, which I personally don't mind, the whole anime friendship trope. I know a lot of people hate it, but I don't mind it myself personally, but it does become a bit much at the beginning for this game. It does tone down for Grace's later on, but the start, you know, you're playing as a young Asbel Lant, and you run into Sophie, and it's just a lot of running back and forth, a lot of backtracking, and just a lot of uninteresting stuff until the end of the prologue, and the prologue takes around something like 2 hours to beat, so yeah, it's it's pretty draggy, and even when you're done with the prologue, it still takes a while to get going, as it's, again, a lot of running back and forth for a little bit, but it is an amazing game. Just the start is pretty dull. And then we have Xenosaga Episode 1. Love this game. I still need to play Episode 2 and 3 though. I'm still scared to play them because I keep thinking there's going to be some remaster as soon as I start playing them, so again, maybe I should play them at some point, but this first game, love it, but it is very, very slow at the beginning. So many cutscenes, a lot of cutscenes that would even make Hideo Kojima blush himself. And there's just a lot of this weird pacing at the start. Now, once it gets going, it's awesome. The music is fantastic, and I recognize too, this is the first game, so of course there's going to be world building, there's going to be a lot of that dialogue, getting to know the characters, getting to know the backstories of a lot of these, of, Shion and Cosmos, the Gnosis that attack you later on, but it does take a while to get going. You have a beginning part that's a simulation that you do at the start, but besides that, there's no battles for a long while. It's cutscene after cutscene after cutscene. And when you play this game for the first time too, there's no waypoints or anything, so trying to figure out where you have to go, you could get lost pretty easily since everything looks kind of the same, right? I got lost quite often at the start for this game when I first played it, which made the beginning even more of a drag, but that might just be a user issue, right? But again, once you get going, it's fantastic storytelling, it's fantastic, just Monolith being Monolith, right? You're getting peak gaming here, but the start is just lots and lots and lots of cutscenes. Now, you play it multiple times, you can skip those cutscenes, but your first time, yeah, it's going to be draggy. And then we have Dragon Ball Z Kakarot. I love this game. It's a fantastic game, and I love Dragon Ball so much. But the start of this was very, very boring because you're going fishing with your son Gohan and collecting apples, and you can't run too fast, otherwise Gohan will start getting upset and crying, and it's just, man, you can't really move, you can't do a whole lot of pacing, and it takes a little bit before you get to do a whole lot of fighting, before you get a lot of those big Dragon Ball cutscenes. And I do love this. I love that you go through the whole series of Dragon Ball. It's a great way for people who are fans of the series, whether you watch the anime or not, to just either revisit the whole story, or a great way to experience this whole story. But you do have a lot of collecting to do at the beginning, at the start. There's a lot of backtracking, going from one place to the other, and just back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Again, once you get going, tons of fun, hard to put down, but that beginning, man, it was pretty awful, I found. And then we have Dragon Quest XI, and honestly, I could put any Dragon Quest game here because all of them do start off slow, and I have to say, out of all the games here, Dragon Quest is probably the only one that I don't mind having a slow start, because that's part of the formula. That's part of how it's built, how it's meant to be built. You're supposed to slowly know that you're the hero of the story, that you're a chosen one, or just the hero to take down the mean big bad guy, right? And I love that, and I love the early grind you have to do, because then it kind of just shows that they want you to stay in this world, to stay in the world of Dragon Quest, and I love that. I love that you get to take your time, get to really know the characters. So it's probably the only series that I don't mind the slow starts or anything like that, but went with Dragon Quest XI because, that's the most recent one, and does have a bit of a draggy one, going with Gemma, hiking up, which I know a thing about hiking myself a little bit. Finding out you're the luminary, getting told by your adopted mother Amber to go to see the king in Heliodor, and opening up from there, though I feel like the game really doesn't open up fully until you start recruiting, Serena, Sylvando, characters like that. But it's still a lot of fun. I love Dragon Quest 11. I still think 8 is my favorite game in the series, but 11 is very close. But yeah, it does start off slow, but like I said, Dragon Quest is probably the only series that I don't mind having a very slow start. And now we have Kingdom Hearts 2, which, man, I could have put Kingdom Hearts 1 here, but Kingdom Hearts 2 is just like, how can we make the prologue even more draggy and worse? I don't know what was going on here, because story-wise, it's interesting. It's interesting to learn about Roxas, especially if you played the spin-off DS game 358 over 2 days. But if you haven't, it's going to be even more draggy, and I do like learning about Roxas, but man, they make this so boring. It lasts, I'm not sure how many hours, but it takes quite a long time, at least 2, maybe 3 hours before you actually get to play as Sora again. And man, it drags out so much because you're doing these random tasks, random tournaments, mini game jobs that I pretty much just did the mail one over and over again, because that one I can do in like under 10 seconds, where the other ones take me 30 seconds to a minute to do, and so not nearly as worth it. I mean, doing the mail thing isn't worth it either, but yeah, Kingdom Hearts 2, amazing game. It's my favorite in the series, just like many of you would say this is your favorite in the series, but that prologue is awful. It is so bad. And next we have Trails of Cold Steel. So just want to say that with the Trails series and being the start of the Erebonia arc, I recognize there's a ton of world building. Trails does world building like no other company. The storytelling is like no other. It's incredible with the Trails series. But just compared to the Liberal, Crossbell, and Calvert arcs out there, I do find Cold Steel has a much slower start. Just like Persona 5, it's one of these that starts with an event months later in the future before you go back a few months and you're playing up to that point and beyond, which they probably put that in because the prologue in this game, there's not a whole lot of combat, not for a long while, and even when you get eventually to the dungeon at your new school of Trista, which is Thor's Academy and a military school for kind of teenagers, high school type students, right? And really cool setup, I love it, but there's definitely just a lot of slow pacing and getting to know the whole world, getting to know the characters, and kind of getting to know the whole situation. So it's understandable why this would be a slower start. There's a lot of characters, a lot of characters, and you really get to know so many of them, and you get to know all about Thor's and this world building of having this academy and this new class 7, that combines both nobility and commoners together into one class, getting to know which ones of your classmates are nobles and commoners, the disputes certain characters will have with each other based on those backgrounds, along with others that you learn throughout the game, learning about their weapons as Reen, Elliot, and Gaius talk about these for a long while at the start, which I find very interesting, especially because with the 8 Leaves 1 Blade School, that is a big part of the Trails series, and yeah, there's just so much to love, and of course you get your fan service here, which I don't mind. It takes a break from a lot just the world building, and there's really cool elements, really cool things happening with Trails, but I think this is why for certain people this wouldn't be for everyone, this series wouldn't be for everyone, and especially for Cold Steel, because it does take its time to get going, and even after the prologue, you're still doing a lot of things at the school before you get your field assignment, right, and doing a lot of battles. So I think it's fair for some people who just might not be interested in this series because of their slow starts. I love it, I love the world building, but I recognize it's not going to be for everyone. And the final game I have here is Xenoblade Chronicles 2, game I absolutely love. I am a simp for Pyra and Mithra for sure, and yeah, the music, the cutscenes, so much I love about this game, but it does start off very slow. Just Rex as a salvager who gets hired by a group later on to recover an artifact. And even when you get past that point and awaken Pyra for the first time, it still takes its time to really get going. I would say it's more until Mithra awakens herself that the game really gets going. But even before that, you got a few cool parts, cool bosses, cool fights to do, but it does take its time, since at the start, before you kind of get hired, you're doing some tasks on Goldmouth and just a lot of side quests at the start, right? So not the greatest beginning, I would say, especially compared to Xenoblade Chronicles 1 and 3, but it's still a lot of fun. I still love it to death. It's really great. I love pretty much all the characters, and there's a lot of humor in it, a lot of that fan service, right? And like I said, the soundtrack is incredible. It's a lot of fun, and love it. Just beginning, yeah, it's it's a slog to get through at the start. And so those are 10 amazing JRPGs with slow starts. So I hope you enjoyed. Like I said, let me know in the comments down below what you think of all this. What JRPGs do you find have slow or really awful starts? Always love to hear all your thoughts in the comments down below. I really hope you enjoyed. Thank you so much for watching. I always appreciate it, and I will see you all next time. Thanks everyone. Have a great rest of your day. Hey everyone, thanks for watching, really appreciate it. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe to see more. And if you enjoyed this JRPG list type video, be sure to check out some JRPGs that I love that many did not. Or if you want to see some of the worst JRPGs I ever played, click this video here. Thank you so much, and I'll see you next time.